Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. September is Alopecia Awareness Month, and affects many more people than you might realize. You might not realize it because many of them have taken care of it in many different ways with help from this woman right here. She is a hair loss specialist and works with so many people from young to old. I'm going to get some insight there and look into the causes of hair loss, what can be done, and so much more. Her company is powerbeautyunlimited.com. Valrie Alexander is back with us. How are you
Hi,
doing today?
I'm great. How are you, Steve?
I'm very well, doing very well. So we hear that term alopecia. Many of us connected to hair and loss. What
Mhm.
exactly is it, and how do you define it?
Yeah. So alopecia areata in particular is an autoimmune disease. Alopecia comes in many forms. So it is a sudden hair loss in different places on your head or on your body. Um, and they tend to be uh, pretty much patches within the back circumference of someone's head if they experience alopecia areata. And with that, they're circular and they could be small or they could be big. There's other types of alopecia, probably I would say around 7 other types of alopecia under one umbrella, and many of them can be caused from stress, medication. If
Hmm.
you went through any surgical procedures, that anesthesia could affect your body and cause you to lose hair. So it's important that if you start losing your hair, that you're seeking out a specialist and preferably a dermatologist at first, just because they have the medical knowledge to diagnose someone dealing with alopecia or hair loss in general. And then you would seek a trichologist if you're
Wow.
looking for a holistic approach to regaining your hair back.
Wow. So centering on one of the reasons, let's go with stress. Many people
Mhm.
might not even realize that you're dealing with a lot of stress, and as they say, stress is a killer. Um,
Yeah,
it can mess you up. I lived it. I had digestion issues. I
yeah.
got an ulcer back in the day. Some stress last year brought stomach issues. Where, being honest with you, I was going to go to the hospital. I was right at that point. I'm like, all right, at the breaks, we know what's going on here.
Hmm.
So it can manifest in many different ways. I never even
Yeah,
considered hair loss. Wow.
yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
stress is a big factor when considering hair loss, and there's a particular type of alopecia. It's telogen effluvium, and that is kind of you losing hair, strands of hair and clumps off of your head. And that's how we determine that it's that type of alopecia.
Hmm.
It's also called diffuse alopecia. So just getting some of the thinning around certain areas of the scalp.
Is it when somebody has a hair loss issue, like, and you hear, especially a lot of women, say, I'm like, I just like clumps are coming out.
Mhm.
Is it often figured out what is causing it? Obviously, going to medical professional and all of that. Is it usually figured out what it is, and is there always a reason, or is it just losing hair?
Yeah.
Nothing, and you can't connect it to anything.
Yeah. So most times there is a reason. And that reason, like I said, could manifest through a medical issue or it could be genetics.
Hmm.
Many women experience male pattern baldness just because they may have had a family member, doesn't have to be dad, could have been granddad, who had male pattern baldness, and that could genetically transfer over to that child.
Hmm.
Um,
Wow.
yeah.
All I'm going to say is I didn't have a close relationship with my dad. Passed when I was 21. I love him for my hair. It's when people my age, I look at friends and it's kind of not the same. So good there. But
Yeah, exactly.
I even, daughter, she, I went through one point of a little bit more hair loss, as a teenager. Um, but the medication thing too. Let's talk about that. I think a lot of people don't trace it back to uh, the medication you're taking could be causing the hair loss.
Yeah. And a lot of us, we look at the serious side effects of medication, and then we don't consider the other side, the side effects that could happen with taking those medications. Um, let's say you're diabetic. That could, insulin or any other medications that you're taking could potentially affect you. So it's good to get at least a blood panel yearly just to determine levels in your body and make sure you're not deficient in any type of way. And most things can be caught and then it can be treated holistically with supplements to make sure you're regenerating those nutrients in your body. Because, like I said before, our hair is the last thing our body thinks about repairing. So if we have some serious health issues going on, then, ultimately our body is going to focus on those serious issues, our heart, our skin, our lungs. So hair is the last thing. So we
Mm,
got to make sure that we're keeping up with our nutrients and,
yes.
yep, supplements and stuff. So,
Yeah, you read my mind because I was going to go there too in terms of nutrition. If you don't have proper nutrition, you're not eating well, then you add stress to it. All of these things I believe can lead to challenges like alopecia. So
yeah.
it's been diagnosed. You still have that hair loss.
Mhm.
How do you support somebody with alopecia?
So when I get a patient that comes in to visit me or have a consultation, we generally do an analysis of their scalp. So we have a special microscope that we go in and we look at the scalp. Maybe you have some extra sebum that's on your scalp that's clogging your follicles.
Hmm.
Maybe you have some dermatitis going on that needs to be, cleansed and removed. Also, we have eczema. People get eczema on their heads and their bodies. So we go in, we analyze it, we find the right solution for them. And I have supplements, I have topical treatments that you would use daily and also come back into the clinic to get maybe some red light therapy. And that's been known to improve your scalp circulation by 98% and give it the ability to regrow the hair. So it's a
Wow.
combination of things. And I like to go holistically than, going to get a hair transplant. Sometimes they work and sometimes patients, they don't, their scalps won't take. And that hair ultimately falls back out again. And it's
Uh,
expensive, you know. And then we
hmm.
have, the other ways where we could replace that hair with a medical unit.
How do you describe a medical unit?
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Mhm.
Medical unit. What exactly is that?
So a medical hair loss unit is called a cranioprosthesis. That's the medical term for a medical wig. And those wigs can vary from maybe you have a patch on the side of your head. I can go in and I can create a patch to replace that hair that is lost there. We have topper units. So maybe someone's losing hair on the top of their head. We have units that will cover just that area. You may have a full head of hair in the back, but on top it's very thin, or you are missing certain, hairs in certain areas. Then we have the full units, our full lace wigs, and they come in different caps, styles, and lace styles. So a full lace wig, you can part it anywhere. But mostly they would have to be adhered to the head with some type of medical glue or adhesive on the scalp, just to give it some longevity. You're not applying something daily. So it's going to last for like 3 to 4 weeks.
Wow.
And then we have closure units, probably like a 6x6 would go from like temple to temple. And then that could be a glueless unit, and you're just putting it on and taking it off every day. And they look natural. We want to ensure that we're getting people natural looking units because I myself personally I experienced hair loss and I experienced alopecia areata, and it's only gotten worse over the years. So I like to make sure that it looks as natural as possible. I don't want anyone saying, "Oh, look at that wig she's wearing." No, no, not over
Mm,
here. Power
yeah.
Beauty Unlimited, we ensure that everyone walks out satisfied.
You look fantastic.
Thank you.
You really do. And yes, and I think a lot of us have that image of when you see somebody and it's not a good hair replacement. It's, we people know. Um, I'm gonna be you're transparent. I'm gonna be transparent. I did have hair loss
Hmm.
because of radiation. And I had skin cancer. I waited too long. I would have a, beard, so it wasn't as visible. And then one
Hmm.
day, confronted it, and they said, "Wow, if we do surgery on that, we're gonna have to, cut from here to here. You can do radiation." So I did, and there's like I was told like about 11% chance that your hair might not come back. I was the 11%. It's in the back and it's on the edge, but I get
Hmm.
around it by having it shaved down. So the
Yeah,
back here, it's tight. You can hardly even tell the difference because they take it down to like a zero.
yeah,
Um, Women can't do that. So something, but we didn't even talk about uh, cancer treatment. That
yeah,
sometimes it's
yeah.
permanent. Then your hair doesn't grow back. Um, for
Sometimes
the
it does. Sometimes it does. When you're getting chemo treatment, it
Yes.
just depends on the type of medication that you're getting.
100%.
Yep.
100%. I didn't do chemo. I did radiation and it just didn't come back. And
Yeah.
where the side note, where they hit it up with the radiation, it wasn't even a cancer area. It was just a little bit outside of it. But
Wow.
yeah,
And
that's
affected. Yeah.
it affected it. I was the 11%. Fortunately, I just shave it down. It's all good. You can't even tell. I mean, if I showed you, I can't turn my head with headphones, if you wouldn't be able to tell.
Yeah.
Not so easy for women. So if it's a section that they're missing, and
Hmm.
you talk about an adhesive, uh, I think right away, people think, oh, well, what if it comes off? I mean, how embarrassing that's going to be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Tell us about the adhesives that are used.
Yeah. So when we're doing things like little patches or full lace units, we like to use medical grade adhesives. And those are the adhesives that are going to last. They're not going to start flaking on you. They're not going to start lifting in certain areas for a period of time. And we want to ensure that, when we are using those medical grade adhesives, we're prepping the head before we apply them, because that has a lot to do with the longevity of the glue the adhesive that we're using.
So it really does last weeks.
Oh, yes. It lasts weeks, and I've seen women who had units on for 6 weeks, and that unit is still adhered to their head. They can get it washed. And that's with the medical grade adhesives. You can wash your hair like you would your normal bio hair, style it any type of way, pull it. It's not gonna come it's not gonna come off.
Amazing. Even you're jumping in the pool, you're taking a shower, all of that
Mhm.
doesn't come off.
Yep, exactly. And that's
Wow.
what you're looking for when you're finding someone that's going to be helping you with that solution of that unit that you're adhering to your head. You want to ensure they're using the proper tools, and that adhesive is the main ingredient to ensuring that you're looking your best and you're not, walking outside and the back of your wig is flapping up. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because there are a lot of we've had an influx of lace glues and you know, unit adhesives that are not comparable to a medical grade adhesive.
Amazing. So would you say even the technology for the adhesives in the, past even 10 years has
Mhm.
grown greatly where it's just so reliable?
Yes, I believe it has grown over the last couple of years. And for myself dealing with it, I've tried a whole host of things, and there are big brands out there, but they're not even good enough to be considered, a hair replacement adhesive. Um, so we have a lot of individuals who are focused on hair loss coming up with these products that are specifically designed to ensure that those units are lasting.
Mm.
Um, I haven't done much research on the adhesives, but I know that there are a lot of good ones out there. I won't promote any, but
Sure.
yeah, yep, they've been working on it and it doing good.
So even for somebody like yourself or somebody maybe even slightly a woman with slightly shorter hair,
Mhm,
and now she's losing it. It's just coming
mhm,
out, it's kind of clumpy. The
mhm.
whole area hasn't there is some here, but there's definitely we're thin in a spot, let's just say.
Yeah.
Um, you could blend it in and make it, permanent for, call it 3 weeks or whatever it is,
Mhm.
and so it's undetectable.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, it blends in seamlessly. When we use the lace fabric, that fabric needs to be as transparent as possible. And then also when we're applying, because I ventilate, and that just means I apply single pieces of hair onto that lace to create that patch per se. We got
Wow.
to ensure that we're doing that in a correct manner to mimic maybe the client has a cowlick in that area. So we have to ensure the pattern of the hair is going in the right direction in order for it to blend the right way.
That's blanking crazy. Like seriously, I didn't even think of that. Of
Yeah.
all those things that come into play, you're not a hair loss specialist, you're an artist.
Oh, well, thank you.
Seriously. Seriously. Um, so you're starting with a bare material, if you will, then
Hmm.
you're potentially, depending on the situation, applying the hair to that material
Yep.
and creating a patch, and then it's applied.
Yeah, then it's applied. Yep,
Wow.
exactly. Even those full lace units, that is a craft. And you have to know the direction the hair needs to lay, the density that it needs to be to look more natural, or what the client prefers. So you have to go in and you have to really use your eyes
Amazing.
in your imagination to ensure that you're creating the best unit for that individual client.
Really, truly unbelievable. What is, technology have changed and also the artistry that's involved in that. Um, I'm seriously blown away because now I see the picture clearer of how
Mhm,
this works and how it can support somebody. What about color? How do you
mhm,
get, the match of the color? It's one thing if somebody's got dark brown hair, whatever.
mhm.
What about, salt and pepper, whatever?
Yeah. So, you know, being a cosmetologist as well, we deal with colors. So I always ensure that if the client wants to match their current color, we go in and we color it. It could be any color. We have vendors that produce those types of salt and pepper looks, and they send us the hair. Any color you can imagine, we can create, or we have a vendor who can make, and generally just takes a picture, and we can mimic that hair color.
Would you say if it's a maybe a more challenging color matching situation,
Mhm.
would you say that maybe, or could this be done?
Yeah.
You apply the patch and
Mhm.
then somebody goes for full color.
Mhm.
including the patch. Has that ever happened?
Not to my knowledge. I've
Okay.
never experienced that. We usually color the hair or lighten the hair before we apply it. So we would, if that person was getting that full color treatment, they would get that. We would look at their hair, we would do the color match, we know what colors we would need,
Wow.
and we would color the patch.
It's just amazing. Um, I am truly fascinated. I really have to tell you that. I didn't expect um that it goes into that much detail, but that's why it looks so real. And let's face it, many of us go for, you know, a trim, haircut, whatever,
Mhm.
some every 3 weeks. It's the same kind of deal, when you're going
Yeah,
to get the adhesive reestablished.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Because we want to ensure that if you do have some hair, we want to ensure that we're still taking care of the hair that you have, of course. And we're ensuring that the units that you have are fresh. We don't want any mildew or something growing in there because it might last longer than 3 weeks, you
Right.
know, but we do want to remove it after a certain period to ensure we're keeping the integrity of the scalp and the hair that you already have.
So the patch itself,
Mhm.
outside of the adhesive, what's the what's the typical length of time that lasts?
That pat, depending on how it's maintained, that patch probably would last maybe, I would say 4 weeks. And then depending on if you ripped it or anything like that, to get a new one done, it doesn't take that long to do them.
Wow.
So
So I just want to make sure that I'm clear
mhm,
on this. The adhesive, obviously, let's call it 3 weeks, whatever it might be, but
yeah.
the actual patch itself, as you know, you create that patch,
Mhm.
that lasts about the same time too. You always have to keep making a new patch.
No, not
That's what I was saying.
necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah, so no, you could, the long as the integrity of that patch is still intact, you would just remove it, you would wash it, you would prep it, and you would reapply it.
Okay.
So, I would say it would generally last 3 to 6 months if
Okay.
if it was maintained correctly and
Right.
you're not pulling too much and pulling the hairs out or ripping the lace, which will require repair or just getting a whole new patch.
Gotcha. And can you style it? And, I obviously be a little bit careful in that area, but
Hmm.
if you want to do something different, I guess, maybe not apply a product so much like hairspray or something like that, because now you can't do that, right?
Well, you could, but generally alcohol is not good for your hair anyway.
Mm,
So we don't want to apply any alcohol products. And we want to stay away from a lot of oils when we're
okay.
dealing with, because we use human hair when we create these patches, even though there are synthetic, fibers that could be used or a blend of fibers in human hair. We want to ensure that we're not messing up the integrity of that hair, but you can put anything on it, gel, hairspray, braid it, curl it.
Wow.
You could do the same thing you'd be do with your own hair.
Just amazing. The only negative here, and I don't write on the negative, is
Mhm.
you got to be in the Albany area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, not necessarily. Well, New York.
For you. Okay, New York. Yeah.
New
For
York.
somebody work for you specifically.
Yeah. Yeah. So I in Albany, I service clients, but I travel too.
Okay.
So, yep, I
Wow.
do travel throughout New York State.
Oh, amazing. And I was up in Albany 2 weeks ago. Love it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my son is going to the SUNY Albany.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So nice people. And I just met another one. Valrie, how do we connect with you? And certainly if somebody's not in the New York area, you're becoming the go-to person for hair loss. How do they reach out?
Yeah, so you can reach out through powerbeautyunlimited.com. And there you can schedule a consultation, or you could send me a message on there letting me know what you're looking for, and I'll call you back. Also, I'm on Instagram at Power Beauty Unlimited Hair and Wig, Facebook, Power Beauty Unlimited. And my number is 518-290-5577 7577, excuse me.
I'm looking right at it. I just looked it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
518-290-7557.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wonderful talking with you. Thanks for all the insight. Really learned a lot. Just amazing in terms of what you do and also how you make people feel. You give them their confidence in their life back. And I appreciate that. Thanks for being here.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.